Hi again, everybody. I'm Dan Hoard alongside Dave Lapham, and this is your Bengals training camp report for Monday, July 30th. It is brought to you by Medical Mutual, the official health insurer of the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals were supposed to hold their fourth practice of training camp today. They went out around 3 o'clock. They were stretching. They were getting ready to go, and then lightning was spotted in the area. They had to go inside, and they waited about as long as they possibly could, and then around 5 o'clock made the decision that they would not practice outdoors today. It was supposed to be their first big practice in pads. How significant is it to lose their fourth practice of training camp?
Well, you hate to. First contact practice as such, the thump drill, not taking people to the ground. I would not be surprised at some point in time that's made up, early in the training camp process. I know Zach's philosophy is a couple of days hard, and then a little maintenance day, a couple of days hard. There's the NBA term, load management. Everybody's into the load management thing now these days. I think all the players, were probably excited about having a tested practice today because, they had the maintenance practice yesterday. So maintenance practice, walkthrough today, padded practice, then a day off. So it's, that's doesn't sound like training camp as such, but Zach's had to deal with a lot. I mean, the injury to A.J. Green 45 minutes into his head coaching practice, the first practice of his head coaching career, and then Mother Nature decides in day 4 to get in the act. So you do have to adjust. You have to be resilient, and Zach's very resilient, and he was talking about how resilient his football team is, the way they've responded to everything. So I do agree that this early in training camp, you can make adjustments, but injury to AJ was some tough news today.
Let's talk about A.J. Green. He had minor ankle surgery today. Zach Taylor talked about it around 5 o'clock on Monday evening and said he's likely to miss at least a couple of games at the beginning of the regular season.
Right, and the minor surgery, probably some sort of a scope. I mean, I've had sprained ankles, really bad sprained ankles that when the ligament, snaps over that bone, there's some bone chips. So there may be bone fragments. There's sheaths, on the, like a little exterior sheath on tendons, ligaments, and those things can get, messed up a little bit. So there's always other things. And when they got in there, they realized there was some work that needed to be done, and they got that work done. The good news is they went in there with a scope procedure right away and took care of it. But unfortunately, it's he's programmed to miss, like Zach was saying, maybe the first 2 games of the regular season. And that might be the optimistic look at it. He might miss the first month. He may miss all the way up to that Monday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who knows? So that's a tough dynamic there. And at this point in time, personnel department might be thinking, some other things. We got to start to maybe look and see what might be out there. There's really not anything on the street, obviously, but, what could be traded for? What would it cost? Who might be let go down the stretch of these final cuts? Is a receiver that we project to be let go better than what we have in training camp? All those things are going to have to be thought through, I think, at this point in time, because now you're talking about A.J. Green missing, 2 or more of the regular season games, and that's a huge weapon to be down. I mean, I think, like we talked about before, everybody else has to pick their game up, not only in the wide receiver position group, the running backs, the tight ends. I mean, everybody offensively has to be a little bit more precise, a little bit more productive, add to the mix a little bit and try to make up for the loss of A.J. Green. The good news is it's not for the season, not for half a season, but it could be maybe for a quarter of the season.
Here's a look at what's coming up in training camp. The Bengals will practice at the practice fields adjacent to Paul Brown Stadium on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. They will be in full pads. Hopefully the weather will be fine. The Bengals will not practice on Thursday. They'll be back at it again at the practice fields on Friday at 3 o'clock. And then they'll have their big family day event on Saturday inside of Paul Brown Stadium. A lot of family-friendly activities. The gates will open at 2 o'clock. Practice will begin at 3 o'clock. Everybody on the team will sign autographs after practice. Parking is free at the parking lots adjacent to Paul Brown Stadium. Again, that's coming up on Saturday with the gates opening at 2 o'clock. Would love to see all of you come out and support the Bengals on Family Day at Paul Brown Stadium on Saturday with practice beginning at 3. For Dave Lapham and Marissa Contepelli, I'm Dan Hoard. Thanks for checking out this training camp report here on Bengals.com.